So you'll notice when you bring in a PDF, your line weights are a little thick here. So if you want to go back into, your PDF, you can always zoom in and look at it this way. So you have these smaller beams here that are shaped like an H, and then you've got panels within them. That's essentially the whole perimeter of the project. So if you want to zoom into the PDF, I would use that as a reference too, because it's a little bit less blurry than your AutoCAD drawing. So the next thing that you would do is start setting up your layers. So you want to make sure that your XREF is on a layer. You've got a layer for your line weights, so your thin lines, and medium lines, right? So same as last time. And then we can come in and add crochet at the end, or we can just use a thick line weight. So we'll see how these are looking, right? Because these are really quite dainty panels. So I would start by drawing anything that you're cutting through with a thick line, right? So you're probably thinking, well, I don't know this building, right? So I gave you guys lots of resources on that page. So if you go back to modules on week 10, this Eames House information, you can click through any of these links if you want more info. But really, I think everything that you need is on the PDF drawing. So if you take a look at these drawings, rotate them. Right, this is our first floor. So any walls on the first floor, you're going to be crocheting because you're cutting through them. And then this is stairs up to a loft. So this would not be crocheted. You can draw it like this. And then this is a large retaining wall back there, so you would also be cutting through that. So the first thing that I would do is I would set up your line weights, and I would do your crochet last. So you always want to be test printing, check on your line weights, make sure it's readable and legible, and then you can adjust and add that crochet as the very last thing. So you want to set up your grid lines. And I don't need these dimensions. The dimensions are for you to be able to draw this. So I'm not going to be grading this and checking this for accurate dimensions, making sure that's right. The dimensions are for you to help you set up your drawings. So you might get some funky dimensions if you're measuring something from the XREF. As a rule of thumb, just try to keep it to a whole number. So for example, if you take a look at this elevation over here, if you measure this in AutoCAD, you'll get this roof plate as 4 inches, and the rest will be about 18 feet, and it'll give you maybe a weird number in like 30 seconds. So just round that to 18 feet. So try to keep it nice and clean whole numbers when you can, right? So you can always measure right on the XREF, or you can draw a line, snap to the bottom. So maybe I'll turn off these. If I draw a line from here all the way up, right, I can see it's just about 18 feet. So I'll draw a line at 18 feet. So you're basically tracing over this, but when you can, try to keep it just nice, whole, even numbers. So don't intentionally draw a line that's 18 feet and 30 seconds of an inch. Just make it 18 feet. Does that make sense? Does anyone have questions about that? I think once you start drawing and tracing over this, you might have more questions, but just remember to keep in mind those whole numbers. So use these grids that are set up nicely at 7'6" as your reference. So the first thing you'll do is set up those layers, and then you'll start drawing. So I would have a layer for your grids, right? These are the architectural grids. Those help us align structural members in the building. So all of those columns fall on a grid. That way it's nice and easy to keep track of. So I would put those on their own layer. And then you want to put the XREF on a separate layer. And then you want to make sure that you have your line weights set up on their own layer as well. So just like we did in the last project, you'll do that same thing when you set up your file with your line weights. Does anyone have questions about that? So once you get this file set up, once you have set your units, you've brought in your XREF, you've gotten that scale, the next thing to do is set up your layers with your bipoints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have some in my office. I get them.
Okay, any questions about those steps?